Okay. Hello, Professor Abdul Rahim.
Hello, Miss Fitri, how are you?
Finally, we met, yeah?
Yeah, after a lot of WhatsApp and
Yeah, a lot of
communication through
correspondence.
WhatsApp. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'd like to introduce to Professor Fendy Suhariadi.
Halo,
Prof. Fendy,
Hello, Prof.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
he is our
Waalaikumsalam.
coordinator
Wabarakatuh.
of Doctoral of Human Resource Development in postgraduate school. Okay. Can we start now, Prof. Abdul?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think we
Okay,
can start
Pak
it.
Fendi, dimulai
Okay,
ya.
we can start it. Okay, Wan Abdul ya.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone, and all the participants and also of the students of postgraduate school Universitas Erlangga. Welcome to this public lecture, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fitri Wardani, and I'll be the host for today's event. I am very pleased to see you all here and welcome all of you in this public lecture. Our public lecture today is with the topic an overview of quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method research. Today's event is conducted by Dr. of Human Resource Development Postgraduate School, Universitas Erlangga, and will be presented by Associate Professor Dr. Wan Abdul Rahim Wan Muhammad Isa, Faculty of Computer and Mathematical Science, Universiti Teknologi Mara, UiTM, Malaysia. And for the moderator is Professor Dr. Fendy Suhariadi, Coordinator Program Doctor of Human Resource Development Postgraduate School, Universitas Erlangga. Before we begin the public lecture, I like to remind you to fill the registration link and attendance link, which we will share in chat box. Okay, without further ado, I will give to Professor Fendy to begin this public lecture. Professor Fendy, the time is yours.
Thank you, Miss Fitri Wardani. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Wan Abdul Rahim, Wan Muhammad Isa. Today we have public lectures by Wan Abdul Rahim, Wan Muhammad Isa, and then this public lecture very important to researcher, because if we are going research, we are confused which one we use to quantitative method or qualitative method, or we use both of qualitative and quantitative. Today, Associate Professor Wan Abdul Rahim Wan Muhammad Isa give a lecture how comes we use the quantitative and how comes do we use qualitative method, and then we discuss about our research. Before we start the public lectures, I introduce Associate Professor Wan. I give curriculum vitae, Associate Professor Dr. Wan Abdul Rahim Wan Muhammad Isa. Your name is very famous in Indonesia because you have a, I check in Scopus, you have a high index 8. It is good. I'm jealous because I'm still, it's 3, high index 3, only 3. And then I encourage to follow your try to research your research. And we know about for Wan Abdul Rahim Abdul Aziz, He is a PhD in Science, Universiti Teknologi Mara, Shala, Malaysia, and he's our experience working in associate professor in Universiti Teknologi Mara. So, not for a long time to introduce, and then please, Dr. Wan Abdul Rahim Abdul Mara, to explain your presentation. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, and to the organizing committee, the Secretariat, School of Postgraduate Universitas Erlangga, for this wonderful opportunity for me to give a lecture on overview of quantitative, qualitative, and mixed meta research. I'm truly honored and grateful to be here. Thank you, Prof. Dr. Fendy, for the introduction, and also to Ms. Fitri as well for helping me throughout this particular program. And I was being informed that this program is hosted by Dr. Program of HR, Human Resource Development, School of Postgraduate Universitas Erlangga, and there are 374 registered participants, yeah, Ms. Fitri? Okay, so it's a good number. Okay, so basically, I think Prof. Fendy mentioned about the difficulties of maybe in terms of challenges, yeah, in determining which would be the correct method, yeah, to be selected in our research, basically, yeah, which is true, okay, is being faced by a lot of researchers, basically. But I think the most important thing that we need to understand is that it must have the basis or justification on selecting the method, okay. So throughout this public lecture, normally we have an ongoing discussion, hopefully, with the participants. And basically, in terms of the objective of this particular lecture would be to, for all the participants, we will be able to differentiate and determine which would be the right method for their research. Yeah. So just to inform my background, I think Dr. Prof. Fendy was mentioned just now, and I just would like to highlight that I'm also one of the consultant, yeah, for Institut Takbiran Awam Negara. Okay, I've been appointed for 2018 up to 2020. Okay, so basically, this is our National Institute of Public Administration in Malaysia. Basically, our scholars, master and PhD scholars who receive their scholarship need to attend one compulsory course, yeah, which they receive public service department Malaysia scholarship. They need to undergo the proposal and also the course. So I'm one of the instructors that for the consultation work. Okay, just to share. And a little bit of where I'm coming from. I'm from Universiti Teknologi Mara. If you haven't heard, this is a public university in Malaysia. Is one of the biggest. Is the biggest university in Malaysia. We have like 35 branch campuses throughout Malaysia, in Peninsular Malaysia and Sabah and Sarawak, and we have 504 academic program. We have more than 18,000 staff. And we have 172,000 students, and we have produced more than 900,000 graduates, okay, as of this year. Okay, just to share where I'm coming from. Okay, and we have a large number of postgraduate students, more than 3,000 students. Okay, so basically the linear outcome, participants should, at the end of this particular lecture, participants should be able to determine quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method research. So it's good that you are being exposed, yeah, even though you have not yet selected which method would be preferable for your research, but to be able to know the options is good, yeah, before you select, yeah, especially for PhD. Normally you need to know all the methods, and then before you select, you need to determine what would be the pro, what would be the advantages and disadvantages before you select, and you need to know what are the associated risks. Okay, So it's important, this is a good public lecture where you are being exposed, okay? Normally before we talk about the method, we need to see the big picture, yeah, in your research process. Definitely, it's rather important for you to know about the big picture. Normally it is associated with the research process, yeah, in which the research process need to be rigor and need to be relevant, yeah, to the context of the study. And the most important thing that spin off your research will be the research problem, yeah. The research problem must be clear. Once you know what are the problems that you are trying to solve, you will be able to design your method systematically, okay? To get the answer or the solution to your problem. So the problem will be the most important part where even in my university, when we evaluate a particular research proposal, if sometimes there is no problem, yeah, or the researcher actually come up with your own self-observant problem, it's not a real problem, yeah. So the problem must be clear first. Once the problem is crystal clear, then everything will fall into places, yeah. You need to know what are the methods to actually get the answer to your research problem, what will be the associated research problem, research question that will be constructed, and research objective to be constructed to answer the research problem. Yeah, everything will fall into place. But the research problem must be clear first. Yeah, otherwise, everything will fall into places. Yeah, if the research problem is not clear. So normally, research probably comes from existing facts and figures. Yeah, to support your work. It may come from the various studies that have been conducted, which leave some knowledge gap. Yeah, or some of the gap that your research will be able to fill in, okay? So it will come from literature review, basically, yeah, all the facts and figures to support, or there are also options where researcher will be able to conduct preliminary investigation to unravel the problems. So you may want to conduct a different small study, yeah, to unravel the problem that may kickstart your research, okay? So from there, everything will fall into places. Will determine your research method, how to analyze, to interpret, and then you need to publish your work. Yeah, because normally the quality of the work, whether it's publishable or not, yeah, and it can be accepted by the national and also international reviewers as well. Okay, so it's good to get feedback as well. Yeah, and the big picture, normally methods and methodology, this is also important. Sometimes whether it's research method or research methodology, right? So basically the most important thing, the simple understanding would be, when we talk about the method, is actually the technique for gathering evidence, yeah? So whether the evidence, the data is in form of qualitative data or quantitative data, yeah? Quantitative data meaning to say that we can quantify in numbers. Okay, that is quantitative. Okay, and then qualitative is basically in description. Yeah. So that would be the way that you may want to get the data. Yeah, whether it's primary data, secondary data. Yeah. So it's all about the technique. Okay. But when we talk about methodology, it's more bigger than that. Normally there would be a theory that supports your work. Okay, underlying theory. Yeah. Normally there are jargons or associated so-called nomenclature that is being used. Let's say you decide to go for quantitative. There are associated jargon associated to quantitative. If you decide to go qualitative, there are associated nomenclature of jargons that you need to know. Okay, so methodology normally would be the underlying theory or how the premise of understanding. Yeah, normally the school of thought, the philosophy attached, yeah, that would guide your research. Okay, so for example, I'm also a quantitative person. So normally my school of thought will come from positivism school of thought, where there is answers to all questions. Yeah, where everything can be observed, can be quantified. Yeah. So my school of thought may be based on observation, experiment. But if I'm a interpretivism person, yeah, the school of thought will guide that the truth is based on school of thought where the answer may comes from the experience or opinion. Yeah. So so this is one of the example of many, okay, school of thought or philosophy or epistemology that will guide your research. So methodology is much bigger than that. So for PhD, normally we would prefer, in my university, we would prefer you have the underlying school of thought or philosophy attached to your work, where will become the premise of understanding. Okay. And still in the big picture, before we zoom into quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method, okay. So basically here, we can see the overview of research method. It's good that you get the overall view before we zoom in, okay. So quantitative method normally dealing with quantitative data. Qualitative method normally is dealing with qualitative data. Mixed method is combination of both, okay. So there are associated so-called method that is attached to the particular, whether it's quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method. Okay. For example, for quantitative, normally we will be doing surveys. And in science and technology streams, normally we do experiment. But social science, normally you are dealing with surveys because we would like to get the numbers, to analyze the numbers. It is very objective. We can hypothesize, we can do some prediction, okay, because the truth is can be measured. But for qualitative, normally the truth will comes from the particular, based on experience, based on knowledge, right, which is hidden within the particular key informant that you are interviewing, okay. And you as the researcher is actually the instrument when we are doing qualitative method. You are the instrument because you are interpreting whatever data, qualitative data that you are receiving, and you interpret. Okay, so that would requires high level of analytical thinking, and where you will be able to do high order thinking, to synthesize, to organize, and to come up with the conclusion, okay, on your part. Okay, so this would be the so-called the particular how would I say, the big picture that every PhD candidates, researcher should have in mind, yeah, before we zoom in a particular method. Yeah, looking at what are the options, looking at what are the problems that you are trying to solve, and from there you will be able to discuss with your supervisors which would be the most convenient, not to say convenient, would be the right method to the context of your study. Okay. So first we are looking at quantitative, yeah. So we zoom to quantitative first, yeah, because this public lecture is about an overview. So I'm trying to give an overview of quantitative, yeah. So the most important thing when we talk about quantitative, the first thing that should cross into your mind is they are dealing with numbers. The data that we are collecting, that we are gathering is in numerical form, okay. That can be measured, yeah, like weight, speed, distance, yeah, revenue. That would be the particular data that we are analyzing, yeah, where the data will be able to support to the solution that we are proposing to solve the problem. Okay, so here when we talk about quantitative, it's a systematic investigation. Okay, so it's systematic, meaning to say you cannot so how do I say, there are some rule of thumb that you need to follow. You cannot skip. It's crucial because we are dealing with numbers. We are trying to analyze, so we are dealing with a lot of statisticians. So statisticians, they have a lot of rule of thumb that you need to follow. I'm coming from Faculty of Computer and Mathematical Sciences. I'm in my faculty, we have a lot of statisticians, yeah, so we need to follow whatever rule of thumb that you need to follow in terms of sampling, in terms of population, yeah, because we are doing advanced statistical analysis, yeah, whether it's descriptive or inferential statistics. Descriptive, I mean to say you are dealing with percentage, right? But inferential, we are starting to do comparison between groups. We are trying to test the construct, the hypothesis testing, yeah. So that would be inferential statistics, okay. And this can be done by, I think in social science, you are doing surveys, yeah, online surveys, yeah. So that would be that you get the numbers where you are using some instruments, your research instruments, some scale, Likert scale, strongly agree to disagree, yeah, where we make sure that the scale is right, is reliable and valid, yeah. The instrument must be reliable and valid. You can adapt or adopt from other instrument, or you can come up with your own, but you need to do some validity or reliability testing the instrument to collect the data, okay, and which the results will be in form of numerical, meaning to say we can quantify, we can measure, okay, something that can be measured, okay. So a lot of statistics will come into hand, okay. Okay, and when we talk about quantitative research, okay, it is involve empirical methods, yeah, survey or experiment to investigate phenomena of study, okay, and then the data collected is numerical, and we can do a lot of analysis in statistical tests. So quantitative, normally they are associated rule of thumb, like what I mentioned just now, okay. The fundamental part would be normally those who decide to go for quantitative approach. I would advise you need to know what type of analysis that you need to do, okay, beforehand, okay. After you have determined your research problem and research question, before you proceed with what you are going to do, you need to have some idea of what type of analysis that you are trying to do, okay, because definitely there are some associated statistics will involve, okay. For example, if you decide to go to do experiment, yeah, in my field, normally we do a lot of experiment. We can do group comparison, yeah, but there are 4 options, okay, whether it's casual, pre-experimental, quasi-experimental, or true experimental. So true experimental, in the true sense, it will be a much more based on random, okay, so that we can justify that it is based on population, yeah. The true experimental part, normally we have the selection of the sample will be based on random, and then we can do a comparative between 2 groups. One group can be a control group, and the other group can be given treatment, yeah. That would be the part where you may want to know that true experimental is random. The rest of the 3 is not random. It's not random. So normally to do random is quite difficult. It's quite challenging. Yeah, not difficult but challenging. Yeah. But quasi-experimental is not random. You decide. It's based on convenience. Yeah. For example, one school you implement a technique, and the other school maybe you do not implement, but you decide. It's based on convenience. Yeah, selection. And pre-experimental is actually where you do not have a control group, okay. It is based on you implement a treatment at one school, for example, yeah. You do not have any control group, yeah, as compared with casual comparative. Normally when you select a particular group, you have a so how do I say, in terms of the predetermined characteristics, yeah. For example, you know what would be the cost, okay, or that differentiate between the groups. So you determine first, okay. It is based on the it is based on the characteristics that you are known with. Yeah, for example, maybe looking at weight. Yeah, you have normal, underweight, and overweight. So you classify into 3 groups of people, where you determine the selection is based on what is known. Okay, and then maybe after that you look at whether their self-esteem. Yeah, in psychology, I think you are looking at a particular perspective, perhaps. Okay, and then in terms of descriptive or correlation, this one I will share later on. It's good, yeah, to know that sometimes descriptive may not be sufficient, yeah, for PhD, Normally we do descriptive just to report on your so-called respondent, yeah, the demographic profiling, and normally we will report about that. But we anticipate more for master and PhD to do inferential statistics. You may want to do correlation, comparison between groups, looking at the construct, where you may want to hypothesize the direction, yeah. Okay, so and then this is what I have mentioned just now, because I would like to manage my time. So basically what I would like to emphasize here, for quantitative approach, yeah, you need to have in mind, yeah, on the statistics that you are going to do. This is a good, how do I say, a good way for you to determine which of the statistics that would be in hand for you to do. Yeah, it's a good direction. Yeah, I would like you to recommend you to get this book. Yeah, Survival Manual from Julie Pallen. Yeah, if you are new to statistics, this would be a wonderful book for you to read. Okay, because here the understanding is there, yeah, whether the purpose is for you to explore a relationship or to compare groups. Yeah, there are associated statistics that you can do to analyze, yeah, to achieve that particular purpose. And the wonderful thing about this particular book is that they have segregated what type of analysis that you can do, whether you are doing parametric statistics or non-parametric alternative. Yeah, parametric statistics is we are dealing with data which is normal data. Yeah, the distribution is normal. Non-parametric alternative is data that is not normal. Okay, so in this book they will teach you on how to do normality tests, whether to test whether the data is normal or not normal. Because when you do that, it will determine what type of analysis that you can do. So they have described what type of parametric statistics here. So you can look at this part. Okay, meaning to say the data is normal, and non-parametric statistics where the data is not normal. Yeah, so it will guide. It will provide you a good basis. Yeah, because there are cases not in your university, maybe my university, where students just select what I'm doing factor analysis. Upon checking, the students do not do any normality tests. The data is not normal or not normal because no normality test has been conducted. Yeah. So this is a rule of thumb, like what I mentioned just now. Some rule of thumb that you need to follow, that you need not to violate. Yeah. I'm not a statistician, but I need to know the rule of thumb because I'm doing some statistical analysis. So there are some rule of thumb that you need to follow, that you need to check. Yeah, and this is also good example as well. Yeah, where you can see parametric statistics, what is described, and non-parametric statistics. Okay, and then you need to determine what are the independent variable and what are the dependent variable. Okay. So when we talk about independent variable, is a cost, yeah, meaning to say you can determine first, yeah, what would be the cost factor that would contribute to the effect, which is dependent variable. Okay, dependent variable is what is being affected, the outcome. Okay, based on the construct that you have determined as independent variable. Okay. So this is just an overview, and then in terms of quantitative, definitely a sample size will be important. You cannot, how do we actually determine whether quantitative work is good or not? The first thing, whether the data is random data or convenient data or stratified sampling, on how you get the data, and then in terms of the numbers. So you need to have justification how many numbers that you have selected, the sample size. Okay, so these are some good rule of thumb, okay, that you can use as the basis of your argument, where you can base on population, which is good. If you know what are the population, you know how many samples that you need to collect. Okay, let's say this is book from Second 2007, where you know the population, you know the sample. This is the basic, yeah, where we like to argue that it is representative to the population, so you can get sample based on population. So if you know the population, you know the sample. Yeah. For example, in UiTM, like what I mentioned just now, we have more than 9,000 lecturers. So let's say if my focus would be UiTM lecturers, Universiti Teknologi Mara lecturers. So basically, how many samples that I need to get is I need to get like 368. Okay. So the population based on your title of your research, the sample would be based on the numbers that you need to get. Okay, if you are doing surveys, you need to get these magic numbers, 300, more than 368 clean data. Okay, if not, get more is good. And then the way that you get your data, whether it's random or convenient or stratified sampling, need to be justified. Yeah, because there are some if statistical analysis a session, they would prefer doing random, but there are cases where some feel allowed to do convenient. Yeah, you need to discuss with your supervisors. Okay, and then for experimental work, there are some bases where 10 to 20 insights. Yeah, this is rule of thumb that you can provide as a basis to argue on the numbers. Okay, whether it's a good numbers or not, it depends on how you argue. There must be a basis. Okay. How sufficient is sufficient, the sample, that will be the thing that you need to determine, yeah, as well. And doing surveys, normally it will incur some a lot of energy and costing as well. But if you are doing online, there are some method associated to online surveys that you need to follow. Okay, but again, this rule of thumb is very general. I would recommend you go with according to your field or discipline. Normally they have some solid argument to argue on the numbers, whether the sample is sufficient or not. Yeah, normally we are talking about population or sample. Okay, okay. So that will be on quantitative part. Okay, just an overview. Hopefully you get the picture. I try to summarize all, but normally when we talk about quantitative part, numbers should become an important part where you need to determine how many samples that you are going to conduct. Yeah, in my faculty normally we do experiments, so we need to justify on the sample as well. Okay, because when you go to chapter 4, data analysis and discussion, normally if you do not have sufficient sample, then you cannot argue that your argument or the results can be generalized to the population. You cannot say that. Yeah. So if that is the case, then you may want to argue in your chapter 4. Maybe you say that you can just infer to the data that you have gathered, because when discussing with a session, normally what makes a good quantitative work would be whether you can represent your results to the population. They are looking in that particular perspective. Yeah, whether it can be generalized to the population or not. So in order for you to generalize to the population, there are some rule of thumb, what I mentioned, the sample, the sampling technique, yeah, on how you gather the evidence, whether it's random or convenient. Okay, and what will be the basis of your selection of the sample. Okay. Okay, and then we move to the qualitative part. If quantitative is all about numbers, so when we talk about qualitative, is basically more about the data is in form of how do I say, descriptive judgment. It's a descriptive judgment instead of numbers. So there's a lot of room for you to interpret. And basically, as what I mentioned, for qualitative data is normally it cannot be measured. It is based on language, on how you interpret. So sometimes we do qualitative research. Sometimes when you are dealing with people, the raw data may not comes from the English medium. It may comes from native language. Yeah, where they have a context according to the language that they are using. Yeah, like Indonesia and Malay, we are sharing the same root. Yeah, but sometimes some of the words may represent different in our context, and then we have dialect as well according to different states in Malaysia as well. So sometimes when you contextualize in form of language, it does not mean similar. Even in Malaysia, we have different states. different states have different dialect. Different dialect will have different meaning, even though the word is similar. Yeah. So this is where interpretism will come into place, where the researcher will become the instrument to interpret. So you need to have a good command of English or good command of understanding of the context. Okay. So when we talk about qualitative, the goal is for us to understand the phenomena under study. Yeah, in natural setting. Yeah. We are looking at meaningful answers, yeah, based on experience and views of the parties of the key informant. Yeah. In quantitative, we are referring to the person that the data that the sample we are collecting as respondent. But here we are referring to those that provide us the rich information as key informant. Yeah. Those that you have interviewed, that you have gathered the qualitative data will become the key informant. So the key informant must have credential. Okay, meaning to say looking at their curriculum vitae, looking at their profile, looking at their background. Yeah, so it provides the credential where the data becomes significant. Yeah, for example, you interview one professor who have worked like 30 years as compared with one professor maybe has worked with 5 years duration. Yeah, so definitely those who works much longer will have a much more rich experience that they will be able to share. Okay, so qualitative is not about numbers. Yeah, it's all about credential. Those that you have interviewed, you need to get their curriculum vitae to support the profile that you have interviewed to become the right person to provide the data for your work. Yeah. So as what I mentioned, dealing with qualitative data, okay, where you involve descriptive judgment using concepts instead of numbers. Okay, so that will be the key part that you need to understand. And then the collection technique, yeah, you can do interview. Okay, you can conduct focus group, you can conduct participation observation, ethnographic study, or projective techniques. Yeah. So here, projective technique, for example, you can interview a particular person where you impose some scenario to them. Yeah, because we would like to know what would be their belief, their feeling, okay, towards one situation. Yeah. So during the interview, maybe you give some word. For example, some free word association. You give the word independence. What does it means? Yeah. So independence will be for a particular person. Independent meaning to say independent of no responsibility being given. Yeah. For example, or independent in the sense of freedom from any financial burden. So they have a different belief or feeling associated to that particular word. So projective technique is maybe one way for you to get the information based on a certain condition scenario being given to that particular person. Yeah. The rest interview, focus group, participant observation, and ethnographic study is much more related to the work that you are doing. Okay. And then when we talk about qualitative, normally qualitative, we are dealing with quality information, yeah, the essential characteristics of attributes. Okay, so this is where you need to get the meaning, yeah, where you need to contextualize based on your study. Normally, I with my students, I normally give a scenario. You as the reporter when you interview someone, yeah. Sometimes it's quite difficult to get the answer, yeah. So you need to ask the right question so that you get the right answer. Sometimes you are asking the wrong question. That's why it's the key informant might not understand what you are trying to gather, yeah. So determining the right question to ask a particular person so that you get the right answer is very crucial. Yeah. Sometimes you may interview like 3 hours, but you do not get the answer. Yeah, because the question you are not asking the right question. So normally when the question must be predetermined beforehand. Yeah, you need to get some opinion from an expert as well for the question that you are trying to pose or based on the scenario. Based on the context of the study. Okay. Okay, and then what are the goals of qualitative research? This is also important, whether it's exploratory, whether it's explanatory, whether it's more on interpretation work, yeah, because it will guide in a sense of what would be the part. So normally for qualitative, it's more about exploration, yeah, some things that maybe you start with your journey, you do not know, so you may want to explore, yeah. Based on the literature review, some of the answers may not be provided to you, so you need to explore, yeah. And when we do qualitative, normally besides interviewing the user, you may want to interview expert, because expert sometimes they have very rich, they have very vast experience, they have their credential, they have their merits, recognition, awards, yeah. So when they give their opinion, it's so rich that it becomes a primary data, yeah, primary data in your work. So when it becomes a primary data for your work, it becomes so-called important, significant, because of the credential that you of the person that you have interviewed. Okay, so looking at, that's why when we are doing qualitative work, the credential and the reputation of the person that you have interviewed becomes so significant that you need to declare in your appendix as well, yeah, the profile. Okay, and then the philosophical assumption is that, like what I mentioned just now, the answers may comes from the experience based on their thoughts. Yeah. So this is where the right information may comes from their experience. When they have undergo the process, they have undergo the journey, they will be able to give much more rich insights. Yeah. Maybe I can give one example. Yeah. How to learn to swim. Swimming, right? Swimming. Everyone will know how to swim. Yeah. Yeah. Do you read a book to know about how to swim? Definitely no, right? It's based on your experience. Yeah. It's based on your experience. You need to keep it's based on your experience. Some people may have different experience on how to learn. Yeah, there are some systematic way of learning, definitely. But when you experience, you will have your own, how do I say, way of learning. Yeah, when you are teaching to your offspring, to your children. Yeah, so it becomes rich. Or in the context of large organization, you are CEO of one company, and the company can make millions of dollars within 1 year. Yeah, so based on your experience as CEO, based on the latest market trends, yeah, you have able to strategize according to the external and internal factors that affect your business. Yeah, so you are in depth of having a lot of experience that you can share. So it becomes a primary data. If the researcher would like to investigate the success, the critical success factor of that particular CEO company, so it becomes a rich primary information during that context of time. Yeah, maybe that particular context of time, we do not have cases of coronavirus. Yeah, it is proven to be successful during that particular period of time. But during this particular stage of we are dealing with COVID-19, one company becomes so rich or makes a lot of revenue due to the context of that particular period of time. They may have different strategy, yeah, going to digital marketing, online marketing, yeah, cryptocurrency, digital market assets, yeah. So that would be a rich picture. So understanding how people make sense of their worlds and experience as people have. So based on experience of that makes the truth. Okay, so this one definitely there is people who do not agree. Okay, I need to check my time. Yeah, I was being informed that by Miss Fitri I have stipulated time frame as well. Okay, so that would be the essential part, okay, that I would like to share. Okay, and then in terms of the particular context sensitive, yeah, holistic views, okay, descriptive, in-depth questions, yeah, context sensitive, yeah, some of the essential characteristics, and then have empathy, yeah, And then this is some of the reasons why you use qualitative, because you are looking at researcher worldview, yeah, where constructivism view, meaning to say it is based on their experience that they provide the truth, okay. And then reason 2, nature of the questions, okay, whether you are looking at perceptions or attitude, okay, looking at the social gains, okay. And then reason 3, to provide rich description of complex phenomena, yeah. For example, you are doing a case study, so case study of one company in that particular context of time, they have a strategy that they have chosen during that particular period of time, okay. Okay, and then for qualitative part, definitely there are some premise of understanding your argument, okay, that you need to understand, yeah. For example, we are looking at theoretical approach, okay, deductive, okay. So deductive reasoning is normally when we try to argue. So deductive reasoning works from general to a much more specific observation. So you may have a theory beforehand, before you collect your data or before you conduct your work. You have a theory in mind that become a guidance for you, yeah, to get specific instances. So you seek to use existing theory, okay, to shape the approach which you adopt to the qualitative research process, okay. So this is when you argue your data later on, it will be based on deductive reasoning, whether because you are working from general to a much more specific observation. And then we have deductive reasoning, okay. So deductive reasoning is basically you are working, you do not have any theory, okay, beforehand, but you look at the data that you have collected, okay. So from the data that you have collected, you look at what are the common themes, what would be the categories that you can that can emerge from the data, and meaning to say from specific instances, and then at the end of your analysis, you will get a generalization or the theory that will comes from the themes of the data that you have collected, okay. Okay, and then this projective technique I have explained, and then case study is also it is recommended for you to get this book, Case Study Research by Robert K. Yin. In this particular book, he argued that the number of key informant depending on the researcher. Researcher need to justify. Okay, if you get like one Nobel Prize winner, would be sufficient for your study, because based on the reputation, recognition, experience that they may have, yeah. As compared if you get like maybe new lecturers, yeah, who do not have experience, so you interview, it does not have merit. Okay. So you need to argue based on the credential of the key informant that you have selecting. So case study is actually a strategy for doing research, okay, which involves an empirical investigation of a particular phenomena within the context. Okay. So this is all about qualitative, and then actual research normally being used. For example, this semester, I apply action research. We have cases of COVID-19. We can't afford to have face-to-face lecture. So I adopt online teaching and learning, okay, using various platforms, okay. And then at the end of the semester, I conduct tests, and then I evaluate the performance of students. And so I apply directly in my teaching and learning process this semester. For next semester, inshallah COVID-19 gone, so maybe I can conduct face-to-face using normal lecture, and then at the end of the semester for next semester, I conduct tests and look at the student performance. So for 2 semester, I can compare semester 1 using online teaching and learning, semester 2 using face-to-face. I compare the performance of students. Maybe I apply different teaching pedagogy. Okay, so actual research is basically you apply accordingly. Okay, and then you try to improve. Okay. Okay, so that would be the actual research. And then grounded theory, as I mentioned, is more about inductive reasoning. You look at specific instances, from specific instances, the data that you have collected, to come up with a theory. Your theory will be your contribution for your PhD work. Okay. Okay, and then other qualitative work such as ethnography, phenomenology research, and narrative research. Okay. Okay, and then content analysis is also a wonderful work that people have done based on document observations. Yeah, you apply, you look at existing documents. Yeah, and then you do some systematic analysis, systematic analysis on your literature review to come up with the data. Okay, based on your observation of the qualitative part. Okay, so that will be on qualitative part. Okay. And then the difference between quantitative and qualitative, as what I mentioned just now, based on the numbers. Yeah, quantitative, you need to know that there are some quantitative that you need to make sure that the sample size. Okay, and qualitative is much more about the credential of the particular credential of the particular key informant that you have selected. Okay. And then the philosophical roots for qualitative, yeah, as what I mentioned for quantitative positivism. Okay, the truth is there. Okay, it can be observed, it can be measured. Okay, you can then survey an experiment, but for qualitative, it is based on the answer will come from the opinion based on experience. Yeah, that will be the truth. Okay, of data that you are gathering. Okay, and then we are looking at mixed method. Okay, mixed method, basically a lot of potential there if you decide to go for mixed method. So when we talk about mixed method, it's a research study that combines quantitative and qualitative methods to answer research question through collection analysis of quantitative and qualitative data. So you are dealing with two types of data, which is quantitative and qualitative. Okay, so there are two important characteristics of mixed method study, which are mixed method research question and also mixed method design. Okay, so research questions will inform us about the design about the study that you are going to do. Okay, so let's say if you decide to use mixed method research question that is based on explanatory. Okay, so normally you will collect quantitative data first and then follow with qualitative data. It is in form of sequential. So step 1, collect quantitative. Step 2, collect qualitative data. Okay, but it supports on answering the same questions. Okay. And then we have exploratory. Exploratory, what I mentioned, some of the information is not there to support. So you may want to conduct interview first. So the first step is to collect qualitative data, and then second steps would get the quantitative data. Okay. So step 1 and step 2 of the data that you are trying to do. And then we have convergence. Convergence meaning to say you collect quantitative data and qualitative data concurrently, simultaneously. Okay. So here we have 3 types of mixed method questions. Okay. Basically, we have explanatory, okay, exploratory, and convergence. Okay. So how to differentiate? It depends on the quantitative and qualitative data that you are dealing with. Okay. And it also differs on how the quantitative data and qualitative data used once collected. Okay. So I will explain in detail. Okay. So the first type of mixed method questions is explanatory. So this is the first type. So explanatory meaning to say you have some premise of understanding that you may have that you can quantify. Okay. So the first step will be you try to get quantitative data. Okay. But once you quantify, okay, sometimes the answer is not clear. So that's why the second step is to collect qualitative data. So qualitative data is being collected to provide explanation of the result of quantitative data. Okay, sometimes when we conduct surveys, we have Likert scale whether strongly agree or strongly disagree. Yeah, suddenly we get the answer strongly disagree. but it does not have any justification on the answers. Yeah, so maybe the next step for you to conduct qualitative interview, so that you get why do people are so not happy. Yeah, based on the survey that you have conducted earlier. So maybe they will provide the answers, explanation of the results for quantitative data. Okay, but even though it's collected at different time frame, yeah, step 1, step 2 is different time frame, but it is used to answer similar research question. Okay. Okay, and then we have the second type of mixed method, which is exploratory. Okay, so exploratory is also using sequential design, meaning to say step 1, we are trying to collect qualitative data. Okay, we are trying to explore, so we do not know much. So that's why we interview. We try to unravel some of the issues. Yeah, we interview to get qualitative data because it is in form of exploratory. We are trying to explore of the phenomena under investigation. Okay, and then the next step would be, once you understand better, the data would actually inform the quantitative phase, how to quantify. Okay, for example, the issues of virality. Yeah, it's a new phenomenon in digital marketing. What makes news viral? Yeah, it's a new phenomenon. It's not known. So maybe you interview, you look at how the influencer makes news viral. You interview first. Once you interview, you know what are the factors, and then you can quantify in the next stage. Second stage, you conduct a survey. Yeah, but the survey will be based on, maybe the instrument will be based on the data, the previous data that you have collected in the qualitative data. Okay, the rule of thumb is that it is collected different time. Yeah, step 1 and step 2, but it works together to answer the same research question. Okay, it is being used to answer the same research question. Okay, and then we have a convergence. Convergence, like what I mentioned, it is simultaneously done. You are collecting quantitative and qualitative data simultaneously. Okay, how it is so? Maybe in your survey question, you have a closed-ended and open-ended question. Meaning to say, closed-ended, you have the Likert scale, you have the instrument in hand, but you also provide section B for open-ended question for them to give some recommendation or to give justification of their answers. You are doing it concurrently, simultaneously. Okay. And then the findings triangulated, okay, to answer the same research question. Okay, so that would be convergence. Okay, and then we have a triangulation is a powerful approach practice where researchers collect data from different group or different time frame. Okay, but the aims of triangulation is to drive the same calculation with more than one data set. So you may have different data sets with different way of getting data or different groups, but you triangulate. Yeah, you justify based on the purpose of to answer the research question. Okay, so triangulation is a powerful practice, definitely. Yeah, sometimes we would like to argue our conclusion or our finding, but we merge different data set. Okay. Okay, and then what will be the difference? This is also some of the confusion. There are distinction between mixed method and also multiple methods are mistakenly overlooked. It looks the same, but it's not the same. Yeah, multiple method meaning to say you are answering different research questions. Okay, but mixed method is where we use it to answer the same singular research question where you triangulate. Okay, so that would be the difference. So looking at whether it's a mixed method or multiple method, it depends heavily on the particular research question, whether you are answering the same research question or a different research question. Okay, so that comes to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully the overview is the objective is being fulfilled for this particular public lecture. I try to give an overview so that you get a holistic understanding of what are qualitative, what are quantitative, what are mixed method. Yeah. So thank you. So I think I can end my presentation. and maybe we can open for Q&A, Prof.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Wan Abdul Rahim. Can I call you Wan Abdul Rahim or Wan Muhammad Isa?
You can call me Wan Ibrahim, Prof.
Oh, Wan Ibrahim. Okay, Wan Abdul Rahim. Thank you. Hold your question first. I think I want to promote my postgraduate school first, because our attendant now 230 came from Medan until Papua. Baik teman-teman, sebelum saya melanjutkan ke tanya jawab, before we discuss about our presentation, saya ingin menjelaskan tentang Pascasarjana Universitas Airlangga. Sebelumnya saya tadi memang belum menjelaskan semuanya karena saya menunggu pesertanya banyak dulu. Nah, ini pesertanya sudah banyak. Jadi acara ini, kuliah umum ini diselenggarakan oleh Pascasarjana Universitas Airlangga, dan acara ini hampir bulanan, tiap bulanan. Kalau nanti teman-teman mention IG kami atau mention pada Facebook kami akan mendata untuk kemudian akan kita publish setiap kali kita membuat acara kuliah umum seperti ini. Dan Pascasarjana Universitas Airlangga ini sekarang sedang mengelola 6 program studi. Program studi yang pertama adalah S3 Human Resource Development, S3 pengembangan sumber daya manusia. Bagi yang tertarik, monggo yang mau masuk ke S3 Human Resource Management. Selain itu, Pascasarjana Universitas Airlangga juga mengelola magister di Human Resource Development, magister tentang pengembangan sumber daya manusia, magister Science and Law, Science Development, jadi magister tentang hukum pembangunan, kemudian magister forensik, ilmu pengetahuan forensik, magister imunologi, magister ilmu kepolisian, dan magister manajemen bencana. Jadi apabila ada teman-teman tertarik, saudara-saudara kita tertarik pada program studi yang ada di Pascasarjana, kita terbuka untuk menerima minat dari Bapak Ibu sekalian. Baik, terima kasih atas waktu 5 menitnya untuk saya mempromosikan Universitas Airlangga Pascasarjana, tentunya di Pascasarjana Universitas Airlangga. Selanjutnya, we open the question. I think for first term, third question. If you want to give question, please give raise hand. If you have question, if not a question, I collect a question from. I have 2 questions. One, Abdul Rahim, from the chat. The first, if I research with qualitative method, we have interviewed many informants. Is the result of interview we report of the original answer we wrote? The first. And second, if we want to publish in international reputable journal and we conduct a qualitative study with in-depth interview, is it okay if we still use thematic analysis using conventional way rather than using software for qualitative data such as NVivo and Atlas? Thank you. It is 2 questions I collect from chatting.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Yeah, I thank you for a good question. Yeah, from Ida Ayu Putri Widawati. Yeah, So let me get this straight. Yeah, basically she has done the interview. She has gathered qualitative data from the interview from the key informant. The question is, how do you report? Yeah. So the first thing, you need to be truthful, meaning to say you need to do some transcript. Yeah, interview transcript. Interview transcript need to be prepared first. That will be the raw data. The interview transcript, let's say you conduct your interview in your native language, Indonesian language, yeah, for example. So you need to write in Indonesian language first, yeah, in the appendix. The interview transcript must be in its original form, meaning to say when you conduct your interview, you bring along your tape recorder, yeah, maybe you record using your phone, you transcribe every words that maybe he or she, the key informant that you have interviewed, maybe he mix around using English, sometimes use Indonesian language, yeah. So it should be the true sense. You transcribe first, okay? Transcribe in its original form, the raw data. That interview transcript, the question and answer from the researcher and as well as from the key informant, you put in the appendix of your thesis, yeah. That would be the first step, yeah, in its true nature. The second step would be in chapter 4, maybe results and discussion. Only there you extract some of the original form, yeah, put in inverted comma the citation is in its true form, and then you interpret using, let's say the report is in English, so you interpret, yeah. For example, the key informant says that COVID-19 is damaging to our economy. A lot of people, banyak orang hilang pekerjaan, kan? So you put the excerpt comment in the report. You extract the original form and then you put in chapter 4, but you put in inverted comma and then the paragraph you explain in English. Yeah, you interpret. It's in true context. A lot of researchers mistakenly translate, which is wrong, because we would like it in its true nature, because when they are using their native language, sometimes the context is different. Yeah, so that's why in the appendix we need to have the interview transcript. That will be the most important thing. Okay, so hopefully that answered the question. And then we have question from Rayani. Julian, thank you so much for the question. Yeah, systematic literature review is actually on hot trend in Malaysia as well. A lot of universities are looking at doing systematic literature review, yeah, where they have protocols that you need to follow. Yeah, a lot of faculty of medicine and faculty of dentistry are using systematic literature review to publish in Q1 journals. Okay, so it's meaning to say you have the protocol to follow. Yeah, so it's good. Rayani, I think Julian have picked up this systematic literature review. If you can do that, wow, it's a wonderful journey for you doing systematic literature review to publish Q1 journals. Yeah, but the question is that if we would like to publish in international reputable journal and we conduct a qualitative study within that interview, is it okay if we still use the meta analysis using conventional way rather than using software qualitative? Okay, just to share, to analyze qualitative data, there are two ways. The first, doing manual, yeah, meaning to say you analyze, you interpret yourself. The second part, you can do NDVO, Atlas DI, yeah. And then there are also the third option where researchers do both, meaning to say they are doing manual and then doing this using this tool, yeah. So that would be I think so far there is no barrier. You can try to publish, yeah. But again, before you select the journal, you need to know what are the themes, because sometimes you are being rejected because you are not following the journal's theme, yeah. So try to find the right journal that you can zoom in. Normally, journals who are friendly with qualitative, they can accept whether you are using manual or whether you are using software to analyze and no problem, yeah. But the critical part would be to select journals that according to that meets the requirement of qualitative teams. Yeah, because some journals they have different themes, different objectives. So you need to investigate first whether the journal are friendly or not to qualitative work. Okay. Okay, thank you, Prof. Fendy. Hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wan Abdul Rahim. Raise hand, Anna Nurmaya.
Yes.
Anna Nurmaya, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Can you loudspeaker your voice?
Okay, now clear, Prof?
Itu ya, wes oke.
Okay, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Prof. Fendy, for opportunity for me to raise a certain issue. Okay, actually, to Prof. Prof. Abdul, yeah. Actually, when I hear the voice of Prof. Abdul, directly I miss Malaysia. I stay there for a long time, Prof. Abdul. Okay, but the issue that I want to know is actually now. I mean that maybe not just me, not just in my environments, but the qualitative research actually several students want to do it in certain level, in a certain level of education. I mean that when they take master, something like that, the publication is a compulsory. The publication is sometimes it's not just compulsory, but it is a must that they have to publish. But among students, yeah, they always afraid, they always anxious that they think that quantitative research is more, I mean that easier than qualitative to get a publication, to get the publications. So I want to know, I want to listen to Prof. Wan Abdul, what is your opinion regarding to this issue? Okay, this is my question.
Okay, thank you. Miss Emma, where do you went in Malaysia?
I stayed in Kuala Lumpur for a long time. Almost 10 years. Almost 10 years, Prof. Yeah.
Oh, okay. A lot of a new building has been erected.
That is why my son said, "Hey, that's Malaysian accent." Oh yes. Then my son said, "Mom makes a question." Okay. I said, I stayed in Kuala Lumpur for 10 years, and also I take my PhD degree in UiTM at times.
Oh, okay, in UiTM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also I work in Pahang also. I have experience work in that.
So very well versed to Malaysia. Nice to know, Miss Emma. You have a good time here in Malaysia. Okay, to answer your question, thank you for asking the question. I think publication is a lot of not just in Indonesia but also in Malaysia as well. Yeah, in Malaysia, in my university, they have put the requirement to publish at least two index journal, yeah. And this has been streamlined not just to science and technology field but also to science social field as well, yeah. Starting in, I think they have started this initiative in 2007 in Malaysia, yeah. They make it a compulsory in my university, Universiti Alimara, but I think UiTM, I think they are aiming for much more high impact journals like Q1, yeah. I think that's true, but just to share, I think in my university we have this faculty of Islamic contemporary studies, Islamic contemporary studies, yeah, faculty that deals with Islamic context. So I have the opportunity to join their seminar. So one of the researchers, they are dealing with qualitative work. Yeah, qualitative work. So they are sharing, I think the one that they have invited from USAM, the researcher. So she has put in in some of the publication using qualitative work that published in high impact journals like Q2, right? But the secret would be aiming the right journal. So that would be the secret. Yeah, you need to target the right journal. So to say that for social science there is no room to get high impact journals, I don't think so. Yeah, because they have precedence. Lectures you seem have able to publish in, I think the one that she's sharing before this in Q2 journals, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Q2 journals. So it's high impact. And when she write that, I think she managed to penetrate to Western journals. Yeah, Western journals that talks about because her paper is talking about Islamic Sharia, which is but there is a strategy in order for her to penetrate Western journals. So she looks at worldview, looks at commonality, and then from there she inserts some of the Islamic way of doing things. Yeah, so so the secret will be to investigate the journal. Some journal are very friendly, yeah, but you need to investigate the context of the journal, the themes, what would be the aims, yeah, and you need to fulfill their requirement first. So try to read the journal. I think they have published different volume issues. Yeah, you read the journals first. So from there you know what the editor wants. Normally the editor will have something that they have in mind. Yeah, because they do not want to publish anything under the umbrella, anything under the sky. So they have some specific requirement that you need to follow. My advice would be to get the right journals, yeah, according to your study. And then when you read the journals, look at the abstract, look at the method. So if the methods are qualitative, look at how the author managed to penetrate, yeah. Because there are some, not to say hidden agenda, but there are some hidden things that the editor of the journals looks at. Yeah. So to answer your question, Ms. Emma, I understand the concern from the postgraduate students. Yeah. But you cannot put your research with equivalence to those who are quantitative part, because there are some field which is quite saturated, yeah, which doing experiment, definitely some journals are very friendly with experiment, yeah, but there are also journals that are friendly with qualitative work, yeah, but it's just that maybe in your pool of friends or your peers, yeah, maybe they are you may not get the right answer, so you may want to consult directly to the lecturers, yeah, to the supervisors who supervise you, who can redirect you to the right journal, yeah. Miss Emma, does that answer your question?
Okay, actually, I'm not really clear in part of like that, Prof. Abdul. Actually, as a what we call as a lecturer, as a supervisor, for example, I supervise a master degree. Actually, that's among students, they are actually interested in doing the qualitative research. But the problem is there is a requirements that they have to publish. Then when they are doing the qualitative research, the probability to get publication in qualitative research is, it's quite difficult compared with doing the quantitative. And then actually there are some students sometimes say that quantitative is already, udah bosan lah, nah itu saja, macam itulah dokter. Nah, it's very static, right? So that is actually interest to doing research in qualitative. But yeah, the problem is they limited of the time, and also what we call that they have to get the publication. So we face the dilemma, something like that. So yeah, that is why maybe you have the information about the not high journal, but it's just moderate or low journals that they are specialized in qualitative research in Malaysia, Doctor, Prof.
Okay, qualitative research, normally there is a way for you to get the information. If you go to the Scopus or Scopus directory, yeah, if you have the access to Scopus, you can actually select the type of journals that you are looking at. Yeah, there is a repository there in the Scopus where you can search the journals. Yeah, if you do not want high impact journals, you do not tick H1, H2. You do not tick the high impact journals. You can select on open access journal. Yeah, so open access journal is how do I say, it's not so rigid as high impact journals. Open access meaning to say it's available for the public. Yeah, so because definitely we do not want our students to publish without indexing. Yeah, so I would recommend go to Scopus directly. You can search the journals, but do not, when you search the Boolean operator, the way that the search engine works is you do not tick the option being given. So do not take on the high impact. Just go for open journals. There's a lot of open journals that is friendly to qualitative. Just type the word qualitative.
Oh, okay.
Type the word qualitative there. So a pool of journals will come into the picture. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would recommend, because there's issues where the journals previously be indexed and then suddenly not be indexed. Yeah. So it's good that the students grab hold this skill. Yeah. Skill of doing the inspection of the journal, whether they are indexed or not, directly in Scopus. I can prescribe some journals, but my concern is that tomorrow it might not be indexed. Right? So might as well you go directly to the Scopus, yeah, because there's a lot of issues where the journal suddenly indexed and then tomorrow it's not indexed. So I would prefer students or candidates to go directly to grasp this skill of searching themselves in the Scopus, search the journals which is indexed in Scopus, because normally in that particular directory you can see that some of the journals is being pulled out. Yeah, so that would be my concern. That is a way for you to find the journals. Yeah, Miss Emma.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you very much, Prof and Abdul.
Okay. Finish, Miss Nurmaya, Erma?
Yeah, Prof. Thank you, Prof Fendy. Maaf panjang. Tidak update lagi soalnya.
Before next question, one Abdul Rahim. Many attendants want to your presentation. Can you share your presentation PowerPoint?
Sure. I will drop to Miss Fitri. Is it okay, Miss Fitri?
Yeah, you will drop to Mr.
I will drop to Miss Fitri, and then the participant, I think Miss Fitri will provide
share to our attendants. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. The next question from Mr. Hari Soekarno. Hari Soekarno, Bapak mau nyampaikan atau saya terjemahkan? Pak Hari. Pak Hari. Pak Hari Soekarno. Masih unmute, Pak.
Diterjemahkan aja, Bapak.
Oke, ya, yaudah.
Okay.
The next question from Hari Soekarno. What if it is said that quantitative research is the same as qualitative data, or qualitative data is the same as quantitative research?
That is a good question. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Hari Soekarno. Okay, so the first thing that you need to understand the predicament. Normally, researcher, PhD candidates might have difficulties to have assimilation of data, which can be both, can be quantitative or qualitative. So you need to put it in form of the direction of your research. Let's say you are using mixed method. Yeah, you are using mixed method. So you need to isolate which one is qualitative, which one is quantitative. Look at the dominant one. Yeah, normally sometimes I understand the predicament. Sometimes when we conduct surveys online, sometimes you include open and closed-ended question. Yeah, and sometimes the closed-ended question is quantified, but the open-ended question, sometimes you can quantify it. Yeah, you ask the question in quantifiable form. Okay, so if that is the case, you yourself as researcher need to decide, yeah, what would be the dominant one. Yeah, you cannot say that, oh, it's combination of the dominant is quantitative or qualitative. You yourself need to decide. Okay, because basically it's your work. Yeah, so you need to, once you understand what is quantitative, qualitative, it's easy for you to differentiate. Yeah, because once the examiner looks that you are disoriented, they will start asking the basic question, then you will be in trouble. So my recommendation, you once you get the data, you yourself determine whether the dominant is quantitative or qualitative. Once you have decided, and you put in your report to be examined by your examiner. Okay, thank you.
Ada lagi Pak Karno yang mau ditanyakan? Atau perlu pendalaman lagi yang mana?
Iya Pak, sudah Pak. Terima kasih Pak. Matur nuwun Pak.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Karno. The next question from Jerry Wisang, Unima. How to compare qualitative method, quantitative method, or mixed method?
Okay, to compare, normally the data that you are collecting, yeah, whether the data is qualitative, quantitative, or combination of both. If it is, you are dealing with qualitative data alone, then it's qualitative. If you are dealing with quantitative data alone, then it's quantitative. If you are using both, then you can declare as mixed method. Okay, it depending on the nature of the data that you are collecting. Okay, thank you, Jerry Wisang.
Okay. The next question for attendance, please raise hand if you want to give question. If you do not, I have a question from Ban Abdul Rahim. Now we usually want to quantitative research, but we don't know exactly about how many population we have. For example, we want to research about employee engagement for millennials, generation millennials. We don't know exactly yet how many millennials generation in our country or in our province. So if we don't know exactly about our population, how comes we put the sample?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Yeah. So in the slide, later on I will share in the slide. Yeah. There are some rule of thumb. I understand the predicament. Even some of my students have difficulties. Let's say the context of study is Muslim. Yeah. So we have like billions of Muslim, right? So it's quite impossible to say that the population is so-called Muslim population. So based on this rule of thumb, okay, let me just share. Okay, this rule of thumb is good that you can look at. The rule of thumb that I'm sharing here is the third one. In multivariate research, including multiple regression, the sample size should be several times, preferably 10 times or more, as large a number of variables in the study. So let's say in your structured equation modeling, you have like 20 items of construct. This rule of thumb says that you need to multiply with 10. So 20 times 10. So you can argue based on this particular rule of thumb by Roscoe 1975. Yeah, that is one way. Yeah, to justify one option. Yeah, the other options, looking at the title of your research. Yeah, maybe you can scope down the population to a much more reasonable population. For example, in my university, if I say that I'm looking at lectures in Universiti Teknologi Mara throughout Malaysia, 9,000 is very difficult. It's a very high number of population. So maybe I would like to concentrate just the population in Klang Valley or in Kuala Lumpur alone, yeah, in Selangor alone. So the population you can narrow down to a much more reasonable population, yeah. That would be the second option, yeah. Meaning to say, rather than you aiming like Muslim population like 2 billions, yeah, it's quite difficult to get the sample. So might as well you refine your title, you refine the population to fit with the reasonable sample. Yeah, look at the title. Maybe you scope down your population. You can do that. In my opinion, Prof. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay, the next question from Virgo Simamora. You can write in chat room. Can you give us a key to write the good question in order to get the right data from Informant?
Okay, so good question. Okay, good question. Normally it is based on to get the right data from Informant. So this one, meaning to say the instrument, you are asking about the interview question, is it? Or you are asking about the credential of the informant? Virgo Simamora, can you explain? Sorry. to write a good question.
Pak Simamora. Pak Virgo.
Pak Simamora, yeah. Or maybe I can based on my understanding. Pardon me. Okay, based on my understanding, maybe the good question when the interview question, normally it need to be once you have constructed the interview question, you need to get the expert to review. That would be the good thing about how to determine whether it's a good or right question. So you need to get expert to double check your question as well. Yeah. And then normally the expert will determine whether it's based on the context of the study. We do not want students, candidates to ask questions which are not within the context of study. So that is why review by expert is highly recommended. Maybe it can be reviewed by your supervisors or maybe other lecturers, yeah, that can proofread your question first, yeah. Because you need to remember, sometimes you are dealing with key informants who are very busy, right? Who do not have much time. So you need to you need to ask the right question. Otherwise, we have problems to get the appointment to meet him or her again. Yeah, that will be one case. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sumamara. Another question? Any? Another question? No? Okay. If nobody give questions, Prof. Abdul Rahim, can you give a keyword or some kind of I think keyword. How about our research will be quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method, and how to probably to enter Scopus or anything about web of science or anything else. Can you give a keyword?
Okay, thank you. So my last word, thank you so much to the organizing committee and secretaries and also for the participants. Yeah, I think it's a fruitful discussion this afternoon. So I would like to congratulate to the organizing committee. Yeah. And then the second thing would be on my advice would be, I think it's not just in Indonesia, but also in Malaysia, we are aiming for Scopus and also Web of Science index journals, right? So my advice to not just to the participant, but also to me as well. Yeah, you need to explore the Scopus and Web of Science directory. There's a lot of wonderful tool included where you can search journals based on your area of field, area of study, and also you can search based on the whether it's index or open access journals. Yeah. So you need to make yourself friendly with Scopus and Web of Science directory. That would be my comment. Yeah. And the next thing is that how to get published. Once you have identified the journals, okay, contact the editors. Yeah. And maybe you can have an engagement with the editors to look at what are their expectations. Normally, every journals have editors, so they have certain requirement beforehand that you need to study, and then look at the journals that has been published in the journals, in the specific journals. Normally, there are some common area that is quite similar to your work, which you can, not to say replicate, but you can learn. You can learn based from the journal that has been published. So learn by looking at what works. And that would be my advice to not just to the participants, but also to me and to my counterparts as well. Yeah. And I wish all the best. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Wan Abdul Rahim. Terima kasih kepada semua peserta. Karena waktu kita harus menyudahi acara ini. Terima kasih banyak kepada Wan Abdul Rahim, Wan Abdul Isa. Mudah-mudahan next time we meet again in public lecture, or we meet in Malay or Indonesia. Baik, terima kasih teman-teman semua yang hadir pada siang hari ini. Saya kembalikan kepada Bu Fitri Wardani, silakan. Unmute Mbak Fitri. Unmute.
Okay, hello, Prof. I'm sorry, I got kicked off from the Zoom, so I have to use my phone. Okay, okay, thank you. So that is our last session of this public lecture. Once again, thank you very much for Prof. Abdul Rahim. I think we still have 2 questions that you are been able to answer, yeah? So maybe the last 2 questions I will forward to your WhatsApp, and maybe we should continue this public lecture in part 2, maybe. Okay, thank you, Prof. Abdul Rahim, for impressive presentation, and Prof. Fendy Suhariadi, Matur nuwun, for conducting this public lecture. Before I close this public lecture, I also want to thank you all to the participants and the students for your attention and participation in today's event. And please visit our website and follow our social media at Pasca UNER. And one more thing, Professor Abdul Rahim, can we have your presentation? Many of the participants would like to have your presentation.
Sure, Ms. Fitri, I will drop in the WhatsApp later on to your WhatsApp. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Please send to my WhatsApp. Okay. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next event. Tomorrow on Friday, we have public lecture from presented by Professor Richard Albert from University of Austin, Texas, United States. Okay, thank you. Stay safe, and have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.